Hello ladies, gentlemen and reptilians, and welcome to The Struggle, a news talk show powered by our desperate attempts to forget about the inevitability of death. Once again, I'm your new host Matilda, and welcome. Tonight we'll be discussing porn, laziness, conspiracy theories, but let's begin with, well, we're going to begin with porn, because it doesn't get better than that. Forgive him, Father, for he has sinned. A Mormon man, and yes, I said Mormon, was just dumped by his fiancé after 4 years together because he committed the most heinous of sins, having a cheeky peep at some cheeky teats. 21-year-old Claire Delton from Utah in the United States called off her dream wedding after discovering her partner enjoyed a little time as the master of his own domain. Now, if it was me, I would have just done the logical thing and painstakingly digitally edited my face over each of the women in each and every frame to make sure he knows where his loyalties lie. But it seems Claire took a different approach. In a furious and lengthy blog post, she said, "I'm that girl that spends 6 months with a ring on her finger. That girl that planned an entire wedding only to find out a week prior it was all a lie." Now, we don't really know how much of a freaky deaky her ex-fiancé was, but here at The Struggle, we never want you to have to go through this. We cross now to our miscellaneous correspondent to give us the rundown of which kind of porn are engagement safe.
Thanks, Matilda. I've just confirmed with a source close to the couple that Claire was actually amidst planning for her fantasy Mormon wedding when she snatched her fiancé's phone, thinking it was hers. Bullshit. She discovered 3 words recently entered in the search bar, revealing her fiancé had been watching porn hours earlier. We assume these 3 words were something along the lines of porn, sex, good. Unfortunately, the website he was using was not made public, because let's be honest, that is the most important part. To break off an engagement, you would imagine it would have been some pretty hardcore freaky shit. Anything with butt plugs is too much. But surely, just some old school Pornhub roleplay is acceptable. Personally, I think the classics are the best. Anything with a pizza delivery man, a hot MILF, sexy policeman, or a threesome is totally chilled. I reckon if they already have a category for it, it's probably alright. However, when it comes to the dark stuff like ball gags, fursuits, or missionary, I'm out. I'm just not willing to look like a pig on a spit. And I'm sorry to all those with foot fetishes, but that shit's not hygienic. A line must be drawn at sucking on toes. However, a personal preference of mine would have to be the classic monogamous boyfriend-girlfriend roleplay. It's just so romantic. Either that or deep throat gangbang. Because the sisters gotta live a little. Back to you, Matilda.
Speaking of a pain in the ass, pun intended, Claire went savage on her fiancé, calling all 300 of the wedding guests, explaining to them exactly why the wedding was called off. In a follow-up post, Claire announced that she'd been inundated with emails and Facebook messages from women all over the world who have been dealt a similar hand, ignoring the millions of others who think she might need to relax and take a page out of her ex-fiancé's book. However, the true highlight was undoubtedly when she appealed to the good men of the world who do not indulge in pornography and asked them to speak up and out, because that's really an injustice worth standing up for. Now we move on to yet another white person going after Muslims. The footy show Sam Newman has drawn criticisms for his comments over the decision of the AFL clubs Richmond and Essendon to stage a display of multiculturalism prior to a match. Muslim players Adam Saad of Essendon and Bashar Hooli of Richmond embraced before the coin toss at a game at the MCG as a show of respect to the Australian Muslim community. Mr. Newman found this to be highly inappropriate. We now cross to our sports correspondents, Fitzy and the Big Dog.
Footy, pies, sports.
You doing it? Thanks, Till Dog. It's Fitzy here, and as always, I'm joined by the Big Dog.
So her name is Matilda.
Well, last week it's all about
again,
Andrew
my
Gaff,
name-
but this week it's all about Sam Newman and his very own Gaff.
I begged you not to say that nonsense.
Thanks, Big Dog. Big Sammy has landed himself in a bit of hot water after his criticism of the AFL for allowing Islam and Sharia to take over our great game and essentially end Australian society as we know it.
All they did was allow two clubs to let two of their players hug before the coin toss. It lasted like 30 seconds and it wasn't even the AFL's decision.
Well, Sam is still convinced it's ruining our game, and he must have his reasons, big dog.
It was over and done with faster than a teenager on his formal night. Don't you think Newman's maybe blowing this a bit out of proportion?
Yeah, but you see, big dog, that's where Sammy thinks you're wrong. As Big Sammy Boy pointed out, there are 600,000 Muslims in this country that share no common interest with what we're on about.
But Fitzy, the only reason this could even happen is because we have Muslim players in the AFL, which is a clear example of them embracing Australian culture.
Yeah, no, mate, you're missing the point. You see, Sammy went a bit further when he identified the very real and not at all overhyped or xenophobic fears about Muslims taking over.
When he said Muslims don't generally nationalise, they colonise.
Correct.
And this colonisation starts with having two players embrace before the start of a game.
I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous.
Because it is ridiculous.
But we're seeing these things in other parts of the world too, big dogger. As Sam the Man pointed out, we see this thing in America where players are kneeling for the anthem, disrespecting the flag and being unpatriotic.
What part of a hug is disrespectful or unpatriotic? Surely labelling 600,000 people as creating a divided community is far more disrespectful.
Well, Sammy did later say that his highly offensive comments weren't intended to offend anyone.
Right. Don't really think that matters, but sure, it's nice to know.
I suppose at the end of the day, what's upset Newman is political correctness being inserted into our great game. You see, big dog, people like Newman are unhappy about this movement to use the AFL field as a platform for political protest. It's just not part of our game. Sport is not the place for these sort of efforts to bring about social change. It never has been. These sort of things, they just divide our nation. They don't unite us. I mean, I can't think of a single example of sport being used as a tool to help unite a politically divided nation.
Well, Spencer, I have a feeling that our editing team disagree. That's all from us. Back to you, Matilda.
What's that?
Always a pleasure, Big Dog. We'll be right back after this quick message from sponsors who don't pay us. Last week was a tumultuous one for the Liberal Party. A Peter Dutton-led charge to dethrone Malcolm Turnbull as PM somehow led to Scott Morrison taking over, while Julie Bishop relinquished her role as Deputy Liberal leader to Josh Frydenberg. Whew. The Liberals are now 100% united, and there will never ever be a leadership challenge ever again. Totally. Now, speaking of P-dubs, some say it was his divisive tactics that may have cost him his shot at PM. We here at The Struggle say otherwise. We think he didn't get it because of his lack of understanding of how time works. When asked in July whether he wanted to be Prime Minister, Dutton responded with,
"That's it, and if the opportunity some years down the track came up, then yes, I think it's a great honour to serve in Parliament and be a great honour to lead your party."
Now look, it's easy to confuse an opportunity many years away with attempting to knife your PM in a matter of weeks, but the same can't be said for these before and after pics. I mean, come on, we all know that spud on the left won second prize in a beauty contest. But when it comes to serious issues like climate change, running out of time is no laughing matter. Unless, of course, you're Peter Dutton.
Time doesn't mean anything when you're about to be, have water lapping at your hands.
Thank God we now have a new, sensible leader, Scott Morrison, who definitely does not hold the same reprehensible views as Dutton, but with more hair and better media training. Recent PMs like Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott both embrace the selfie, and Kevin Rudd even shared his shaving mishaps on the socials. And boy, wasn't our former Prime Minister's face red in that snap. I don't mean Kay Rudd was embarrassed or anything, but for some reason here he looks ripe enough to be related to Barnaby Joyce. Now, that would be something to be embarrassed about. But this new PM's got hold of a much greater power, his catchy, youth-approved nickname, ScoMo. Because TBH, we all know the other pollies have FOMO, that they can't relate to these acronyms and lit-slang young people use. They're totally like, OMG, this is too hard, I can't keep up. But can we really trust a man who has approved this infamous $180 million tourism campaign?
So where the bloody hell are you?
Hey Lara, where the bloody hell are you now? Morrison's also been around and about in his community with visits to a local beach and surf lifesaving club. All we hope is that he maintains his current dress sense and never strips down to Abbott levels. But seriously, Parliament isn't all fun and games. Or is it?
This is coal. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
The Treasurer knows the rule on props.
It's coal.
The then Treasurer most probably thought it was Bring Something Bad for the Environment to Work Day. But this wasn't the only time Morrison faced scrutiny in Parliament, as he came under fire for introducing Operation Sovereign Borders. But in all seriousness, are we sure that Dutton wasn't elected PM? Because this whole stronger borders idea reminds me a lot of this guy.
Any person who joins a people smuggling venture and attempts to arrive illegally in Australia will be returned or sent to another country for processing.
Can we check that ScoMo isn't just a disguise with like a potato or something hiding inside? Anyway, if there's one thing I've learned from this whole leadership fiasco, it's that in the end there's always winners and losers, and there can only be one person who ends up Prime Minister. Isn't that right, Scott?
To ensure that one can succeed and all can succeed. That one doesn't have to fail for another one to succeed.
No, looks like he's another Oprah. But if one doesn't have to fail for another one to succeed, why are we sabotaging and scheming against Prime Ministers like contestants on Survivor?
The tribe has spoken.
If ScoMo had his way, we'd probably have co-Prime Ministers, so everyone would be able to succeed together. But we should spare a thought for poor old Malcolm, who right up until his last speech as PM was asking the right questions to the right people.
I'm just going to go to Chris Ullman. See here? No? Okay.
Ah, Malcolm, we'll miss you, but we know you'll always keep it classy.
Yeah,
Go on, give him a pat.
Oh, you're a little rat.
His name's Splinter.
He's being very quiet.
Is he Shane?
Yeah. How are you, mate? Good to see you. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, he sleeps with a cat and a dog.
Fantastic.
Nice to see you,
Great.
Shane.
How old is your rat?
He's 2.5.
Okay.
Now, moving on to some stupidity in Australia's education system. The personal health records of more than 300 high school students in Melbourne were recently released in a massive privacy breach. Strathmore Secondary College accidentally published its students' records, including mental health, physical health, and any of the fun medication those students might require. Victorian Education Minister James Merlino said the department would launch an inquiry into the breach, which he described as appalling. The privacy breach supposedly was due to human error. Bullshit. However, we here at The Struggle have a little conspiracy theory we would like to share. It's Turnbull's dumb new security bill. The Liberals are sick of being made fun of and are simply reminding us of the power they now hold. If you recall, in last week's episode, we went after one of Turnbull's final acts as PM, introducing a security bill that essentially gives the government access to everyone's private shit. Since introducing this bill, it's fair to say Turnbull and the Liberals have had an interesting couple of weeks. Well, this security breach is obviously the government's subtle way of saying we own you little shits, and if we see one more #LibSpill tweet, then everyone's going to know all of the dumb diseases that are killing you idiots. Or something along those lines, I'm sure. Now, as a follow-up from last week, we have sent Frida Loader back out onto the streets to see if Australians still care about their privacy online.
So do you care about your internet safety and personal health records?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I do.
So you don't have any weird diseases you're hiding from the government?
No comment.
Yes, I have a pathological hatred of certain kinds of politicians.
I don't think government should know the weird disease.
We have a theory here at The Struggle that the Liberal government leaked these health records just to sort of say fuck off to the public. Do you think that's the case?
Well, it could well be the case, couldn't it?
I don't know that case.
So you think, Matilda is completely sane then? Completely mentally stable?
I wouldn't be the right person to judge that.
No comment.
I'm not too familiar with this theory, but I don't think it's crazy.
It might be stretching the truth a little bit, but it's not impossible.
Hey, I'm not insane. This conspiracy is legit. Anyway, let's move on to bagging out our dumbass intern. Last week we didn't have much luck finding a ghost partner for our intern. He unfortunately saw right through them. So this week we decided to try his luck on Tinder. Again. And who better to take inspiration from than Natasha Aponte? The actress, model and singer invited dozens of guys to Union Square in New York who all thought they'd be going on a solo Tinder date with her. However, once at the square, she started eliminating candidates in a very amusing way.
So, do you have what it takes to win a date with me?
Asking them to battle it out with one another Hunger Games style. And the reward? Well, I imagine they get a root. So naturally all the men instantly got involved. She was probably hoping that at least one of these guys wouldn't overact their way through the games like Katniss or Peter did. Come on, J-Law, we all know you loved our Hemsworth boy. It was later revealed that this and every other goddamn tiny nice thing on this godforsaken earth was all part of a viral marketing strategy. But why let capitalism ruin a good thing? So we decided to get our intern in to try his hand at this mass Tinder dating, and here's what happened.
Thanks, Matilda. So, we just created this totally rad Tinder profile for our intern. We're hoping that it's the magic ingredient to finally getting him laid. Alright, so I didn't make that profile. Anyway, quick update. It's been 10 minutes and yet none of the dates who said they were coming have arrived.
Why do you make me do this? I don't even want to do this. I miss Amber. Can we please have Amber back?
Alright, so it's been 40 minutes and we're still waiting on the 20 odd girls from Tinder who said they were going to rock up to meet the intern. I mean, poor intern. It's clearly not what he deserves, but it's what he's getting.
My life is the biggest disappointment. I mean, no job, no nothing, no pay. I'm just stuck here. Aren't you guys like happy with your social experiment? How much more do you guys want?
Oh my, I think we've got some movement. Intern. Oh, are you here for the Tinder experiment?
Sorry, do you know where the Malash Connect is?
Just go away. I don't even want to talk. Just go fuck off. I hate this.
Okay. Well, you know, clearly that just goes to show everything we try and do for the intern never works out. Guess we'll just have to keep coming up with some fun and new exciting ways to get the intern laid.
Fine, but not the ghosting again. Not the ghosting again.
Well, our intern, for now, is, as always, eternally single. Back to you, Matilda.
Thank you, dating correspondent. Our poor intern. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just your tunnel is too damn long. All right, guys, we'll catch you after this break. Welcome back, everyone. Moving on from our sex-starved intern, we've reached the mother of all dad jokes. As a father has rewritten his daughter's millennial CV in an attempt to highlight her laziness and just general shit attitude. The 16-year-old millennial, who is actually a Gen Y, but like, hey, who needs facts on a CV, shared the resume on Twitter. Skills included not listening, browsing Facebook and fucking up. So we've reached out to her to see if she's available to host the show. Hey, who the fuck put that on the auto cue? She also got on her dad's tits, gave client information to fraudsters and hated people. It comes at a time when millennials and Gen Ys are being mocked by baby boomers for being lazy. Gen Y, for the first time, outnumber boomers and Gen Xers in Australia, which means maybe soon we can stop copying all this shit from them. However, if the stereotype about Gen Ys being lazy, entitled and generally shitty is true, the planet is doomed. More doomed than it was in the baby boomers' hands though? Only time will tell, but all signs point to no, it'd be pretty hard to fuck up as badly as the baby boomers did. Speaking of being shit and lazy, a recent study from the Australian National University found that Homo erectus, one of our ancient relatives, actually became extinct in part because of laziness. Yes, you heard me right, not an asteroid, not a plague, but some good old-fashioned bed-hogging, ball-scratching, face-stuffing laziness. And that's the way to go, isn't it? In bed, binge-watching Game of Thrones and eating through a week's supplies. Recent digs in Saudi Arabia revealed details on why we, Homo sapiens, emerged and won ascendancy over the Homo erectus. We head over now to Anna Phylaxis to provide us with some insights into the matter.
Get off your lazy ass and clean the fucking room.
I'll do it later. I'm just the intern center. Give me a break.
I'm so sorry about this, Matilda. Anyway, as we were saying, a recent journal article published by the Public Library of Science found that our hairy ancestors employed a least effort strategy, or what millennials like to call doing smart work instead of hard work. The University of New South Wales researcher Dr. Shipton found that our hirsute hominid hombres, Homo erectus, used shit-tier weapons and shit-tier tools. Instead of climbing up a hill to use the sharpest stones, they just settled for whatever there was at the bottom.
Hey Anna, could you bring me a Coke from the fridge?
Scientists said that even when the environment around them changed and turned to desert, they did nothing. That's somewhat reminiscent of the tactic employed by someone we know. They had a terrible work ethic and a horrible quality control. Instant gratification. That's what killed them. The ability to endure discomfort in the present in order to ensure a prosperous future, that's what allowed us as Homo sapiens to win the evolutionary race. Clearly, some of us are letting us down in that field.
So Anna, that Coke, are you bringing it anytime soon or what?
You.
What the fuck? The intern has an intern now? Get him the fuck out of there! Okay guys, while we make sure that Anna doesn't kill the intern's intern, that's our show. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and tag your non-porn watching partners in the comments below. Goodbye from everyone here at The Struggle. It's real.